everyone, and welcome to the Book Refuge, and welcome to a fun video. I decided I want to do a few more of these this year because then at the end of the year, it's not as overwhelming. I'm kind of doing like a mid-year favorites for me. This isn't all the books that I've rated 5 stars because I'm very liberal with 5 stars. I think that it's very easy for a book to be 5 stars without it being a favorite. And in fact, I'm pretty sure next year I'm going to implement what Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany does, where she actually gives a book either like she calls it 6 stars or it's called like 5+, meaning like there are lots of books that I rate 5 stars because I read a lot of romance and I'm pretty liberal with that. If a romance does what it sets out to do, which in my opinion is 2 things. It does whatever like trope that it's doing, and it makes me love the characters, believe their love story, and have a good time, which maybe that's a few things. So if a book does that, it wins for me. I'm not really any more critical than that. So there's that. But here I have a list of, I think about like 8 or 9 that I still constantly like think about them. So to me, that puts them a little above a 5 star because there was more to it than just being awesome. Like I actively still think about all these books. If my mind is quiet for a little bit, I'll be like, man, I want to reread that book, or man, I just really enjoy it. So let's start with one I read right near the beginning of the year, and that was How Rory Thorn Destroyed the Multiverse. I don't have this one in my hands because a lot of the books I rate 5 stars, my sister wants them because I'm kind of her like I'm her pre-screening work is what I do for her. Love you, Beth. So How Rory Thorn Destroyed the Multiverse is actually a sci-fi fairy tale retelling. It had a lot of vibes of the Lunar Chronicles, in my opinion. It had a lot of vibes of, kind of like a J. Kristoff or Amy Kaufman collaboration. I really enjoyed this. So this story is about a girl who, she's a princess, and it starts out as kind of like an Aurora retelling, and Sleeping Beauty retelling. And in fact, in this sci-fi futuristic world, the Thorn family is the descendant of the first like Aurora, and his name was Rory, the name of the prince who saved the princess from the tower. And so now every son that they've had, his name is Rory. Only this time they have a girl. And they haven't had a girl since Aurora, all the way back then, you know, being the mother of these. And however, the mother of Rory, she wanted a girl. And so the fairies granted her a girl. But being a girl, things are going to be a lot tougher for her, even in the future. So this book starts out with the gift ceremony that we see in, you know, the Disney movie, except there are like 9 fairies or something, and one of them, the 9th fairy, is the evil fairy. And so all of these fairies are giving Rory these beautiful gifts, and then the evil fairy shows up and she's like, I'm gonna give you a curse. I'm going to give you the curse to never be satisfied with the ordinary. Evil fairy gives her to never be satisfied with ordinary. And that is just like the worst curse they could possibly give her because she's not going to be able to have any true satisfaction in her life, is supposedly the setup. And then we fast forward 18 years later, and she's about to be in an arranged marriage with a prince from another planet that they have been warring with, and this marriage is going to fix that. And so she gets sent to live on this planet for the 9 months before the wedding is supposed to happen, so they can kind of have her as collateral. And that's kind of what I'll say. But it turns out there's something amiss with her fiance, and she's gonna try to figure it out. This book is so smart. It's told like a chronicler is telling it. In fact, like this is supposed to be a series, and I'm hoping that it continues. This book didn't get a ton of recognition, so I'm hoping that I can do my part of it and that we will get a sequel because it was set up amazingly and I loved it. Loved it so much. I actually have a full review for this one, which you can go check out in my playlist. Linked at the end of this will be my book reviews because a few of these have solo reviews in there, so you can check that out. Then I want to talk about Hothouse Flower by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is book 3 in the Calloway series. which connects with the Addicted series, which connects with the Like Us series. So Kristen Becker Ritchie have this series of about 15 books that start with the beginning of these 3 sisters and these 3 men, like all be like coupling up, and then it's their lives together and them having children, and so it goes through all of it, and I love it. I love a series like this. This one, like, these are not like standalone series, although you can start the Calloway series without having done the Addicted series. And I did start with the Like Us series because I didn't know they went into each other. But now that I've read all of them, it just makes sense to read them all the way through. But this one is an age gap, and it is with Reich and Daisy. Oh, and I love them so much. This is, Reich and Daisy first meet each other when Daisy is 15 and Reich is 22. And then there is like some flirting that happens because Daisy is always flirting with Reich, just always flirting with him. And he really kind of like keeps himself apart from that because she is a child and he actually is like looking out for her. But then when this book is starting, because all that happens in previous books, when this book is starting, she is 18, almost 19. He's 27, and she's just tired of waiting around anymore, and he's tired of denying himself. And he was good, and he waited, and he made sure that nothing happened between them before he was old enough. But everyone knows like they're supposed to be together, and it just feels so good when it happens. There's a lot of trigger warnings in this. Daisy has a lot of crazy things happening in her life. Reich likes to climb mountains. She is a model, and she's been through a lot of like, she has panic attacks. There also is some, not in a bad way. They have some sexual issues they need to work through together, which was really interesting. And it was nice to see it in a younger couple because that happens too. Like everything's not going to just be all perfect, even when 2 people adore each other. Like those books are so good. I love that whole series actually. Then I want to talk about, again, The Magic by Lisa Kleypas. So I actually have quite a few of her books on my favorites list this year, if you check that out on my Goodreads. But when I wanted to pick one to talk about, I was torn between Mine Till Midnight and this one. And I went with this one because this is actually the book that kind of starts that whole long series. Like there's 3 series that all connect. There's the Wallflower series, the Hathaway series, and then the Wallflower series. Oh, wait, I just said Wallflower. The Robinell series. And this one is, technically, this is a prequel to the Wallflower series because this is about Westcliffe's sister, Lady Aline. And this is a second chance romance between Aline when she's now like 29. And the love of her life was John McKenna, who was a stable boy at the family home. And she, because reasons, like her father was an asshole and obviously didn't approve of his daughter being with a stable boy, made it so she had to send John away. So John went to America, became, someone setting off fireworks in May, that's odd, became filthy rich, and comes back because he wants Aline and he wants his time with her and he wants to sleep with her and ruin her and leave her, and that's what he wants to do. But as soon as he sees her again, he realizes he can't do that, and actually he wants her. Aline has some pain that she's dealing with. There was some things that happened to her after John left, after she sent him away, and she wants that time with him as well, but she also wants him to leave at the end. So she very clearly is like, I'm happy to have you ravish me. Let's do this, but I'm not going to share with you how much I love you. I'm going to keep that distance between us because you need to leave in the end. And her reasons are ridiculous to me, but this is a romance and, reasons. But the thing I love is I love that John keeps pushing forward. And there's also I consider them 2 equally important. They try to say one of the stories is lesser, but this is also about the youngest sister who is a little bit of a pariah because of some things that have happened, and her and John's business partner kind of have something. And I really, really like that because that one dealt with addiction and alcoholism and what that looked like at the time. And I really, really appreciated it. And to me, both stories are of equal weight. When I was reading it, they kind of get like equal screen time. So I think it's equally as important to talk about that one as well. So I am talking about it. I love this book. And it just starts off that series of like, I think it's 12 books. And it's so good. So definitely, if you haven't read Lisa Kleypas yet, I don't know what you're doing. I didn't start her till last year, so I definitely understand, but like, get on it. Hurt, really quick. So Hurt is by Lydia Michaels. This one's very intense. This is a romantic suspense thriller, they're calling it, I think, whatever it says, or dark romantic suspense. So this book is hard. There's a lot of trigger warnings for this. Usually books with, yeah, there's trigger warnings for this. There is a on-page pretty brutal rape that happens pretty early on, and there is a male rape that happens later on as well as there is assault and abuse and lots of things going on. But the reason this book is on my favorites list is because of the longing, and it's these two people that are not trying to fix each other, but just be support and to just exist to help the other person. And I just really love that. I love it so much. It just hits all my buttons. So this is about a girl and a guy, and they're both working at this hotel. She works the front desk, he works the bar. And they've had this flirtation and just kind of like fun stuff going on for the past like couple years maybe. And neither one of them have been ready to make a move because they both just have a lot of, well, mostly he has baggage because he's definitely interested in her, but he has a really dark past that he just doesn't want to involve anybody in, and he has a lot of secrets that he's hiding. And then one night, the woman gets brutally raped by a patron of the hotel. And our man, he comes back because he forgot his coat, and he finds her, and he's there for her through it. Like, he takes her to the hospital, he's there with her, she's too afraid to go home, or he stays with her at her home. And it's kind of this like tragic, well, it's tragic because she was raped, it's horrible, but it's also tragic because they had such possibility, and now this woman just feels like it's ruined because she's like, I don't think I can ever have anyone touch me. I don't think I can feel the same passion that I would have been able to feel for you. And so they both just need to decide now if they're willing to let themselves heal each other. And so through it, we're getting flashbacks of, I think it's supposed to be like 5 years ago, of like where he was. And he's actually from the UK, and he was involved forcibly in some pretty bad stuff, and he escaped, and we don't know what happened. Like, we don't know how he escapes, and then we don't know how he got here because the people that he's dealing with there are bananas. Like, it's bananas. But Lydia Michaels, the way she writes, there's just something, like, it hurts so good, but you're so compelled because her writing is amazing. So I had to put Hurt on here, but the title is what it does to you. It hurts. Let us pop this one up real quick. I won't talk too much about this because I've had a lot of videos coming out lately talking about A Heart of Blood and Ashes, and I actually still have one more to film where this one will also be in because it is my new love. It is my new, I just want all the things from it. And this is a romantic barbarian fantasy. This is the first in a new series called A Gathering of Dragons. This is about a man named Maddox, who is kind of a commander of like a army, and his mother are the king and the queen of their land. And then he comes home from battle and finds out that his mother and father have been lured to another kingdom and murdered. And his mother was brutally raped and murdered. And then their like alliance, their kind of like council of people in charge of all the lands, say that he can't do anything about it because his father killed someone, and so it was their right to kill his dad. Well, then he finds out that this king actually has a daughter living, the one who killed his parents, and if he's not allowed to go after the king and his sons, but he can kill the daughter. So he's going to do that. But then he meets this girl, and her name is Evine, and she has a proposition for him that if he marries her, because the bloodline of her people passes through the women, it's a matriarchal bloodline, he will actually become king of her land if he marries her, and any children that they have together would be their heirs. She is a pretty weak and sickly woman. She has been abused by her father her entire life and was locked in a tower. And Maddox doesn't know if he believes this. He's very angry in the beginning. He is a barbarian and he says a lot of mean things and threatens a lot of mean things. But Yvonne just will not back down. This woman has no ego. She has pride, but she is willing to bend it to get what she wants and to get her vengeance on her father and save her people, because her father is ruling her people cruelly. And so I freaking love her. This is obviously a hate to love as well as an arranged marriage between the two of them, and it's amazing. And there's magic in here. There is zombies and dragons and animal companions, and there are horse riding people, and it's so good. But this one is brutal as well. The trigger warnings are there for it. I also have a full review for this, which is linked in my review playlist at the end of this video because I have feelings. Then let's talk about Her Perfect, and this one is by Steffi Walls. So this book is a student-teacher romance. I wouldn't really call it an age gap because there's only a 4 or 5 year difference. It's mostly because she is 17 at the beginning of this one. Is she? She actually might be 18 because I think she's a year behind. But her brother's best friend ends up coming to their town, taking a job there as a teacher. And this book is actually told a lot from his point of view, which is really cool, because he is amazing. Eli is his name, and he is so swoon-worthy. What's beautiful about this one is it's a slow burn. Also, we get to see him falling in love with her, and I'll just be honest. A lot of times when I read student teachers and they are like dual POV, the POV of the teacher is always just a little bit skeevy because it's hot. I love the age gaps. It's my favorite taboo. It's my favorite taboo trope. I adore it. But you always know that like this person who has feelings for this student, like they're a bad person. And in real life, we'd want this person to go to jail if they started sleeping with a student. Like we just would. It doesn't matter if they end up being 18. Like we know. In this case, because he's 23 and has known this girl most of their lives. He hasn't known her in the last few years, but like he knew her when they were kids. And he sees just the things she's going through because her family, she's the only girl out of, and I think she has like 4 or 5 brothers, and her family just picks the boys over her constantly. And Eli, because they end up being in the same places together and he's noticing what's being done to her, he gets kind of like angry, and then he starts to have feelings for her. And it's really beautiful when you see it from his point of view. Like he goes jogging the same places she does, like with his shirt off, and he finds like ways to talk with her, and he cares about what she's going through. And it's really, really beautiful because it grows slowly. You know, nothing happens till she's old enough, but also you don't have that same little bit of skeevy feeling you might get with other age gaps because, again, it's not really too much of an age gap. I don't consider 5 and 6 years like really an age gap. It's more that he's a teacher. Also, this has trigger warnings for an eating disorder, and that is a major plot point. And the way that Eli finds out about it and deals with it makes him all the more swoon-worthy. Like, this book was tough. I cried many times, and it left me with a huge impression. It's also like hard to like unravel the whole thing, but it's one of my favorite student teacher ones that I've ever read, and this was beautiful. And not gonna lie, it was one of the most appropriate, like the most real to life student teacher one that I've ever seen, where like legit if I'd heard the story of these two people in real life, I would be like, wow, if you just waited till she was out of school like 2 years, like go for it. Like there's no, you don't feel like he's grooming her or that he's taking an advantage. Like you feel his feelings, and he just wants to take care of her and love her, and he sees what her family does, and the way that he's willing to step up and be like help her with her eating disorder and like do whatever needs to be done. He's that one person who will go to bat for her, and it is so beautiful. It's so good. So definitely check it out. I have 2 left, and they are smutty delights. Here we go. So I have A Worthy Opponent by Katie Robert. This is the third book in the Wicked Villain series. You can read these books out of order if you'd like to. They're each about a different Disney villain that has been made not necessarily more sympathetic, but definitely sexier. And they all live in this, the world of the Wicked Villains, which is kind of like mafia based, and like different people like own different territories, and in the middle of it is the underworld, which is a sex club, and all these different villains like come there, and it's a neutral ground. So the second book in the series, Learn My Lesson, is about Hades and the underworld, and like his territory is neutral ground. So at different times people come through there to either seek sanctuary or to get a break from their problems or to have kinky sex at the club. So, you know, this one, Where the Opponent, is about Jameson Hook and Tiana, or Tinkerbell. And Tink, we've seen her in the past couple books at the sex club. She's been there for a certain amount of time. She like sold herself to Hades for a contract of a certain amount of years. And instead of letting her re-up her contract, he's kicking her out because he wants her to deal with some issues. And so Hades tells her, you can no longer stay here. If you come here again, I'm going to kick you out. You need to handle your problems. Well, Hook was able to take over the territory that Peter owned. And Peter is an asshole. He's horrible. He's the worst. We don't like him at all. And Tink is terrified of him. And that's why she had sold herself to Hades. And her only way of protection is to marry Hook and become his wife and help strengthen his hold over the territory. And she hates Hook, or we think anyway, but we can definitely tell that that hate is more inspired by the fact that things never went right for them. That she was with Peter and Peter was abusive, and she wanted to, Hook wanted to get her out, but she just couldn't risk it. And so there's all that stuff that's set up at the beginning. But this is a arranged marriage, hate to love. The BDSM is here. There's always the good sexy scenes. Hook is a very interesting kind of dom. I just really, really love him. Oh, he's like my favorite kind of dom, where he likes it. He likes the sass. Like, he's not one that's like, don't at all. Because there's some doms where they're just like, you listen to everything that they say, which can be sexy. But he's the kind of dom where he's mostly just the dom, like, in bed, and in life he's looking for a partner. And I love him. I love him. I love every book in this series. This and The Beast are probably my favorites. But when I was picking one of them, like, this is the one. But Katie Robert, she's my girl. We're good. And then the last one I want to talk about, I know this is really hit or miss for some people, but I laughed my sweet ass off while I was reading it. And that is Pucked by Helena Hunting. So all of these books are on this one is on KU. The whole series is what I meant, not all the books I talked about. In fact, only this one and Her Perfect, I think, are on KU. This is the first in a hockey romance series. This is about Violet and Alex. Violet, her stepbrother, is on this hockey team, and so she's forced to go to a game, one of his games. They have a great relationship, but it's also kind of like teasy with each other. And Alex Waters is the captain of this hockey team, and Violet is instantly attracted with him, but she also is mostly attracted with him because her stepbrother tells her that she can't have a thing with him. And so they end up having a one-night stand, and Alex goes hockey stick overhead over this girl. And also, he has a really big dick, and yes, there are a lot of jokes about it, and yes, Violet's obnoxious, and that's why a lot of people don't like this, but I thought it was hilarious. And there's lots of awkward, like, innuendos and jokes that, like, would just happen if you're around a bunch of hockey guys and they're puck bunnies and their girlfriends. Like, it just would happen. But this starts off a series of there's 6, and then some novellas, and I just love it. I loved it so much. I laughed my tushy off. I read the whole series in like 3 days, and it was just so enjoyable. So I love, love, love a good comedy, and I just giggled and snorted and had a wonderful time. So there you go. All right, so those are some of my favorite books so far this year. If you ever want to see more, my Goodreads is always linked down below. And I put all of my favorites and my 5 stars and everything there if you want to see more of that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this. I put up new videos 3 to 4 times a week, and you can watch some more of them right now. Bye!